Welcome to new section of software testing. In this section, we are discussing about software testing lifecycle, simply called STLC. This is the one of the major interview question for software testing jobs, and this is the systematic approach for testing a web application or software product in software testing. So how it can be performed or different phases of software testing life cycles are these are the steps that are requirement analysis, test planning, test case development, and test environment setup, test execution, and finally test closure. So we can look into each phases. First one, requirement analysis. In this phase, we are trying to reviewing the software requirement document, SRD, and other related documents. On 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 doing this analysis, we have some doubts or clarification needed. So we need to interact with the stakeholder to gather the additional informations and identify the inconsistencies in requirements and make sure it is consistent and try to understand each requirement clearly and identify any missing or incomplete requirement. Then we need to discuss it with the stakeholders or within the team so we can fix the requirement and identify any potential risk or issues that may impact the testing process. These are comes under requirement analysis. Okay, then next phase is test planning. After requirement analysis, the test planning will be start. So in this phase, we identify the testing objectives and scope and developing a test strategy. That means selecting the testing methods and techniques that will be used. Here, the manager or the lead try to evaluate the how much resources are needed and how much time frame it will took to complete this work that are estimated comes under the test planning and identify the resources and the tools or the tools means which are the suppose we are going to testing a API, so Postman software is needed. For security, maybe OWASP, and performance testing, you need a JMeter. So, which are the tools we may be needed for this testing? These are planning under the test planning phase and reviewing and approving the test plan. In test plan, we mention these details in document and mention these details, the estimation, the cost required, the testing. So, and when, which time we need to deliver this item or product to the client or end user. So these details are described in test planning document. Okay, then next phase is test case development, the third phase. And in this phase, identify the test cases that will be developed because we analyze the requirement and understand the requirement, and second phase we plan the resources and assign the duties to assign the duties to the team, that means different ways. So the third phase we are trying to develop the test cases and test scenarios and test data for testing, and we clearly mention the expected result of each test cases. The main point is we need the expected result. With the assumption we cannot perform any testing. So make sure you are expecting a, a valid requirement or the based on the requirement is logged in correct. So expected result should be there in test cases. Okay, and we need to review and validate it. You prepared a test case, right? So you need to validate that review with your teammates or lead and correct or missing the test cases. The test cases should be very clear and easy to understand and You need to prepare the test data, test scenarios. These are comes under test case development phase. Okay, then the next phase is test environment setup. Actually, this phase is not for testing team because it's created or the environment is set up by the developer or the customer. Okay, here we perform the test cases. Okay, the test environment decide the condition on which the software is tested. In real companies, there is multiple environmental there are there. For developer, there is dev environment. For QA or testing purpose, there is a staging environment. On there, we are performing the testing. Okay. After completing the testing, we will move this build to UAT. The UAT environment will be same as the production, and if it is passed in UAT, then that moved to the production environment. Okay, that is the flow. So next phase is test execution phase. After the test case developed and test environment setup is completed, then the next phase is test execution. So based on the test cases developed or created on that phase, we will execute that test cases on this phase, and compare with the expected result and mention the actual. Both are same, then our test is passed, otherwise our test is failed, and we need to defect logging. And this is a defect if you mismatching in actual and expected are mismatching or not matching each other, then we need to report that to the developer and developer will fix that issue. Okay, in defect logging we will mention the issue and steps to recreate and priority description of that issue mentioned in defect tracking system. Okay, after defect fixed by the developer, they will reassign for retesting. Okay, any defect that are identified during the test execution are retested to ensure that they have been fixed correctly. So in test execution, we execute the test cases and report the issues. And finally, after fixing those issues, we retest it and finally close that issues. Okay. Then the final step is test closure. Test closure is the final stage of software testing lifecycle where all testing related activities are completed and documented. The main objective of test closure stage is to ensure that all testing related activities have been completed and that the software is ready for release. Okay, then in this case we need to submit the test summary report. This report is created that summarizes the overall testing processes, including the number of test cases executed and the number of defect found and overall the pass fail rate. Okay, we are already covered, that is defect tracking, that all the defects are tracked and managed and until they are resolved. Then test environment cleanup. The test environment is cleanup and all test data and test artifacts are archived. Okay, this is for future purpose. And test closure report. A report is creating that document all the testing related activities that took place, including the test objective, scope, schedule, and resources used. And knowledge transfer. This is for knowledge about the software and the testing process is shared with the rest of the team and any stakeholders who may need to maintain or support the software in the future. Okay, then the feedback and improvement. Feedback from the testing process is collected and used to improve future testing processes. So these are the different 6 phases of STLC. So this systematic approach, we can complete our software testing with a systematic manner and we can deliver a very good quality product to the client without any defect. That means very high quality product we can provide by the help of these phases we follow when we follows. So hope you enjoy this section. Thank you. We can see in another section. Till then, bye and thank you.